If I made that money, I'd sit on a beach, I'd drink beer, and I would just watch the sunset. Kind of like a Corona beer commercial. Have you ever thought about that as a career option?
You know, I find that really pretty boring. So that would be torture. If I had to do that every day, that would really be pretty awful for me. I really need to be preoccupied with something. If I'm just sort of sitting there relaxing, I can only do that for a very short period of time, and then it becomes unbearable.
And you want to make money, but are you motivated beyond just the profit motive and racking up dollars? And
Yeah, no, I'm a volunteer. I mean, I don't need the money. There's nothing, it's not like I'm sitting here saying, I wish I could buy such and such a thing. I could buy it. I get paid minimum wage, actually. I don't even get overtime. You know, I think my sort of drive to get it done is somewhat disconnected from hope, enthusiasm, or anything else. I actually just don't care about hope or enthusiasm, motivation. I just give it everything I've got, irrespective of what the circumstances may be. You just keep going and get it done.
I think it's very difficult to start companies and quite painful. I think that's important to bear in mind. It's much easier to get a job somewhere. Much easier, much less stressful. You'll have more time for other things.
But would you be happier?
No, I wouldn't be. I'd be unhappier. So it's really like, if you're sort of wired to do it, then you should do it, but not otherwise. It's not going to optimize your leisure time or anything like that. It's going to be extremely difficult and stressful. So you must feel compelled to do it. Let me put it this way: if you need inspiring words, don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard starting a company. I mean, you have to basically be prepared to work constantly, you know, from when you wake up to when you go to sleep. You have to be willing to deal with a lot of difficult problems and thorny problems, willing to deal with an enormous amount of stress. You just got to push yourself super, super hard. I wouldn't recommend it for most people.
No.
I definitely feel stressed. Yeah, it's been incredibly difficult and painful the last several months.
Mm-hmm. Painful?
Absolutely, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sleeping on the factory floor, not because I think that's like a fun place to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
You know, terrible.
Sleeping on the factory floor, why are you doing that?
Because I don't have time to go home and shower. I don't believe like people should be experiencing hardship while the CEO is like off on vacation. I certainly never expected to see the level of success that's occurred, because I'm actually an engineer, but I discovered that in order to do the engineering that I want to do, I have to have my own company. Otherwise, somebody makes me do something I don't want to do. For me, it's always about, does what I'm doing matter? If we are successful, does it matter to the world? And so there are easier ways to make money than starting a rocket company or, say, a car company.
The odds of me coming into the rocket business, not knowing anything about rockets, not having ever built anything, I mean, I would have to be insane if I thought the odds were in my favor.
Why even begin?
When something is important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor.
How much of your personal fortune have you poured into this?
$100 million.
$100 million into something that you did not believe would work at the beginning.
Yes.
But at the age of 37, he hit rock bottom. His first rockets failed to reach orbit, and an early model Tesla Roadster had quality problems.
In 2008, the rocket company is not going well. You've had 3 failures. The car company is hemorrhaging money.
Yeah.
And the American economy has tanked in the worst recession since the Great Depression.
Right. That was definitely the worst year of my life. If that fourth launch hadn't worked, that would have been it. We would have not had the resources to mount a fifth.
You couldn't have gone on at that point.
Yes, death would have been, I think, inevitable because we did not have the resources to mount a fifth launch. Yeah, I wish it wasn't so hard.
There are people who've been in the rocketry business for decades who say about you that you don't know what you don't know. What are you trying to prove to them?
What I'm trying to do is to make a significant difference in spaceflight and help make spaceflight accessible to almost anyone. And I would hope for as much support in that direction as we can receive.
What keeps you fighting for your vision? What helps you to reach your dream?
Well, I mean, I think I'm kind of constitutionally just geared to just keep going. Certainly, there are times when things don't go well, and then that's quite dispiriting, for sure. And so then it's difficult to proceed with the same level of enthusiasm. But I do think the things that we're doing are pretty important to the future. If we don't succeed, then we will be certainly pointed to as a reason why people shouldn't even try for these things. So I think it's important that we do whatever is necessary to keep going.
How many things can you buy that you really love, that really give you joy? So rare, so rare. I wish there were more things. That's what we're trying to do. Just make things that somebody loves. A future where we are a spacefaring civilization and out there among the stars. This is very exciting. This makes me look forward to the future. This makes me want that future. You know, there need to be things that make you look forward to waking up in the morning. You wake up in the morning, you look forward to the day, forward to the future. A future where we are a spacefaring civilization and out there among the stars, I think that's very exciting.
Persistence is extremely important. You should not give up unless you're forced to give up. You know, there's no other choice. Now that principle can be misapplied if you happen to be trying to penetrate a brick wall with your head. You have to be cautious in always saying one should always persist and never give up, because there actually are times when you should give up because you're doing something in error. But if you're convinced that what you're doing is correct, then you should never give up. And you know, life has to be more than about solving problems. You know, if all that life is about is solving problems, why bother getting up in the morning? There have to be things that inspire you to, you know, that make you proud to be a member of humanity.
Well, it's like the Nike slogan, you know, just do it. You know, just showing up is half the battle. Just, you know, you got to try hard to do it, and don't be afraid of failure. As Edison said, you know, it's 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. Not be afraid to innovate, but also don't delude yourself into thinking something's working when it's not. Or you're going to get fixated on a bad solution. Yeah, and I think also just don't be afraid of new arenas. You know, you can get a book, you can learn something, and experiment with your hands, and you know, just make it happen. Find a way or make a way to get something done.
I think people should be nicer to each other, and give more credit to others, and don't assume that they're mean until you know they're actually mean. You know, it's easy to demonize people. You're usually wrong about it. People are nicer than you think. Give people more credit.
I'm probably not the guy that most people would bet on.
Who wins?
It's like a little kid fighting a bunch of sumo wrestlers. Usually the sumo wrestlers win. We're a little scrappy company. Every now and again, a little scrappy company wins. And I think this will be one of those times.
Creating a company is almost like having a child. So it's sort of like, how do you say your child should not have food?
So once you have the company, you have to feed it and nurse it, even if it ruins you.
Yeah.
I think when I was, 5 or 6 or something, I thought I was insane. Which was just strange. Because it was clear that other people did not. Their mind wasn't exploding with ideas. It was like, that's strange. I don't think you'd necessarily want to be me. It's very hard to turn it off. It's like a never-ending explosion. All the time.
You've said that this has been the toughest year for you, the most sort of taxing year for you. Like, why? 22 hours a day, or like what? How many?
I was just working, so 7 days a week, sleeping in the factory. I worked in the paint shop, general assembly, body shop.
You ever worry about yourself imploding? Like it's just too much?
Absolutely. No one should put this many hours into work. This is not good. People should not work this hard. They should not do this. It's very painful.
Painful in what sense?
It hurts my brain and my heart. So this is not recommended for anyone. I just did it because if I didn't do it, then Tesla
good chance Tesla would die. I mean, Tesla really faced a severe threat of death due to the Model 3 production ramp. Essentially, the company was bleeding money like crazy, and just if we didn't solve these problems in a very short period of time, we would die. And it was extremely difficult to solve them.
How close to death did you come?
Within single-digit weeks. I mean, when we started Tesla, I thought maybe our chance of success was 10%. Well, I mean, I can tell you my original plan was, I thought, okay, I had like $180 million from my portion of the sale of PayPal. And I thought, you know, if I invest half of that in creating these companies, then I still have the other half to be fine.
Yeah.
But of course, that's not how it worked out. We used up all you know, you invested 100 million, then still needed more money. And then there was the big recession of 2008 and 9. And in the end, I had to invest everything. And I was borrowing money from friends to pay the rent.
You were on the edge of actually
I didn't even own a house. I didn't think it would be easy. Like I said, I thought they would probably fail. But you know, like creating a company is almost like having a child. So it's sort of like, how do you say your child should not have food?
So once you have the company, you have to feed it and nurse it, and take care of it, even if it ruins you.
Yeah.
But I suppose there were some tough times in 2008, end of 2008. How did you get through that period of crisis?
Yeah. Can we just break for a second?
Sure, of course.
I think that probably they shouldn't want to be.
You?
I think it sounds better than it is.
Okay.
Not as much fun being me as you'd think. There's definitely, it could be worse for sure, but it's, I'm not sure I want to be me. It has actually been a very difficult journey, I have to say. My priority right now is to try to add some more management bench strength to Tesla in particular, so that I can take a vacation. In the last 12 years, I've only tried to take a week off twice. The first time I took a week off, the Orbital Sciences rocket exploded and Richard Branson's rocket exploded in that same week. Second time I took a week off, my rocket exploded. The lesson here is don't take a week off. Well, when my brother and I were starting our first company, instead of getting an apartment, we just rented a small office and we slept on the couch. And we showered at the YMCA, and we're so hot up we had just one computer. So the website was up during the day, and I was coding at night, 7 days a week, all the time. And I sort of briefly had a girlfriend in that period, and in order to be with me, she'd have to sleep in the office. So work hard, like I mean, every waking hour. That's the thing I would say, particularly if you're starting a company. Trying to build a company and have it succeed is like eating glass and staring into the abyss. I mean, what tends to happen is it's sort of quite exciting for the first several months of starting a company, and then reality sets in. Things don't go as well as planned. Customers aren't signing up. The technology or the product isn't working as well as you thought. And then that can sometimes be compounded by a recession, and it can be very, very painful for several years.
When you had that third failure in a row, did you think, I need to pack this in?
Never.
Why not?
I don't ever give up. I mean, I'd have to be dead or completely incapacitated.
You know, there are American heroes who don't like this idea. Neil Armstrong, Gene Cernan have both testified against commercial spaceflight in the way that you're developing it, and I wonder what you think of that.
I was very sad to see that because those guys are, those guys are heroes of mine, so it's really tough. I wish they would come and visit and see the hardware that we're doing here. And I think that would change their mind.
They inspired you to do this, didn't they?
Yes.
And to see them casting stones in your direction.
It's difficult.
Did you expect them to cheer you on?
So they're hoping they would.
But there are a lot of negative things in the world. There's a lot of terrible things that are happening all over the world, all the time. There are lots of problems that need to get solved. There's lots of things that are miserable and kind of get you down. But life cannot just be about solving one miserable problem after another. That can't be the only thing. There need to be things that inspire you, that make you glad to wake up in the morning and be part of humanity. That's why we did this.
So what advice do I have for college graduates interested in getting involved in the spheres you've tapped into? Certainly I'd invite you to apply for a job at SolarCity or Tesla or SpaceX. If that doesn't work for whatever reason, then I guess apply to jobs at other companies in that arena or try starting a company. The space business is quite hard to start a company in the space business because it's such a capital intensive business. So it may be better to do something in solar power, or if you're going to do it in cars, do it as kind of a component supplier for cars or something like that. If you study engineering and you figure out how to design new things, then it's relatively easy to start a company. You just need to get a few like-minded people with you.
How did you get the expertise to be the chief technology officer of a rocket ship company?
I do have a physics background. That's helpful as a foundation. And then I read a lot of books and talked to a lot of smart people.
I think my sort of drive to get it done is somewhat disconnected from hope, enthusiasm, or anything else. I actually just don't care about hope or enthusiasm, motivation. I just give it everything I've got, irrespective of what the circumstances may be. You just keep going and get it done.
What is the one thing that has surprised you about your life?
Oh, one thing, wow. Well, I'm surprised by the whole thing, honestly. I certainly didn't expect to be for any of these things to happen, honestly. I knew I wanted to be involved in technology, in fact, the only reason I started a company back in '95, an internet company, was because I couldn't get it. There were only a few internet companies, and I couldn't get a job at any of them. I tried to get a job at Netscape, and sent my resume in and tried hanging out in the lobby, but I was too shy to talk to anyone. And then I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll have to start a company because I can't get a job anywhere.
I wouldn't say I'm fearless. In fact, I think I feel fear quite strongly. But if what we're doing isn't, what I'm doing is I think is important enough, then I just override the fear.
I think also people tend to overweight risk on a personal level. It's one thing if you've got, a mortgage to pay and kids to support, and that if you were to deviate from your job, how are you going to feed your family and pay the rent? And okay, that's understandable. But let's say you're young and you're just coming out of college or coming out of high school or whatever. What do you risk? You're not going to starve. I mean, it's really certainly not in any kind of modern economy. It's so easy to earn enough money just to live somewhere and eat food. So I don't know what are they afraid of? They're mostly afraid of failure, I think. But people should be less risk averse when there's not much at risk. I was at sort of a slight existential crisis because I was trying to figure out what does it all mean? Like, what's the purpose of things? And I came to the conclusion that if we can advance the knowledge of the world, if we can do things that expand the scope and scale of consciousness, then we're better able to ask the right questions and become more enlightened, and that's really the only way forward.
What drives you? What is it that when you wake up in the morning, do you see a problem and you want to solve it?
I think the thing that drives me is that I want to be able to think about the future and feel good about that. We're doing what we can to have the future be as good as possible, to be inspired by what is likely to happen, and to look forward to the next day. That's what really drives me is trying to figure out how do we make sure that things are great and going to be so, and that's the underlying principle behind Tesla and SpaceX. I think particularly for Americans, think about America is a nation of explorers. People came here from other parts of the world, chose to give up the known in favor of the unknown. So I think exploration, I think the United States is a distillation of the human spirit of exploration.
I mean, I thought both Tesla and SpaceX would fail at the beginning.
You saw it?
Yeah, sure.
Really?
Of course.
But nevertheless, you put all your money in that.
I expected to lose it. Well, technically, what I thought was, well, I'll take half the money from PayPal, and if I lose half of it, that's okay. But then, of course, the companies encounter difficulties, and then have a choice of either let the company die, or put all the money into the companies. And so I really didn't want the companies to die, so I put all the money in the companies. And then had to borrow money from friends to pay living expenses. It's just really looking just for evidence of exceptional ability. And if there's a track record of exceptional achievement, then it's likely that will continue into the future. Well, it really depends on the stakes. If the stakes are high, if it's really important, then I will overcome the fear and just do it anyway. But essentially, I just drive overrides fear. But I feel the fear. It's kind of annoying. I wish I didn't. I wish I felt it less.
Toward the end of 2008, SpaceX prepared its fourth attempt.
We were running on fumes at that point. We had virtually no money.
So a fourth failure
would have been absolutely game over. So for SpaceX, the first 3 launches failed. Just barely able to scrape together enough parts and money to do the fourth launch. If that fourth launch had failed, we would have been dead. So multiple failures along the way. I tried very hard to get the right expertise in for SpaceX. I tried hard to find a great chief engineer for the rocket, but the good chief engineers wouldn't join, and the bad ones, well, there was no point in hiring them. So I ended up being chief engineer of the rocket.
But Flight 4 was flawless. In Musk's world, it lit the darkness.
When critics say you can't do this, your answer to them is,
we've done it. And then just work like hell. I mean, you just have to put in, 80 to 100-hour weeks every week. If other people are putting in 40-hour work weeks and you're putting in 100-hour work weeks, then even if you're doing the same thing, you know that you will achieve in 4 months what it takes them a year to achieve. Work hard, every waking hour. That's the thing I would say. And I mean, if you do simple math, you say okay, if somebody else is working 50 hours and you're working 100, you'll get twice as much done in the course of a year.
I think it's important that humanity become a multi-planet species. I think most people would agree that a future where we're a spacefaring civilization is inspiring and exciting compared with one where we are forever confined to Earth until some eventual extinction event. That's really why I started SpaceX.